Hey everyone, here at Comicstorian Gaming, a little bit different style of video. So originally when Avengers came out back in August, we thought we were probably going to come out with a weekly video talking about the fun times we had in Avengers, the new characters, goofing around, doing everything from our goofball videos to more serious discussion videos. But if for those of you who have been living under a rock but also enjoyed the Avengers game, it hasn't exactly done well, and they've had huge delays on the new content. So since we haven't been able to make very many Avengers videos, some new articles came out discussing the future of Avengers, and I thought it would be fun to chat with Dylan, our editor, while we do a mission. See how the game... I guess there's not going to be very many edits in that. I just choked on my own spittle. Anyway, we'd see how much more optimized the game has gotten nowadays. Well, you're going to get raw and uncut this way. So before we even got a mission, we're going to do one of the new Tachyon riffs while we discuss how the game is optimized. One thing we already noticed is that our OBSs are actually recording this time. So yay, that they've optimized to that extent. Now let's see if matchmaking works.
Also, to be fair, if we're looking at my screen, I'm using NVIDIA Shadowplay, which almost always works.
Right, when I use OBS, which gave us that janky footage on the last video.
Yeah.
So I sent you an invite. Let's see if it works. And I've got it signed up for the Tachyon Rift Breakout. For those who don't know, my main characters are Thor, Black Widow, and I like Hulk a little bit, but Black Widow's always been my main because my team that I was rolling with, we planned all that out. Did you have a team you were planning this out with, Dylan? Did you have like a bunch of friends you were ready to just constantly grind with?
No, I had one friend who I haphazardly got to get in the game, and he only got into it because his parents bought it for him. And I was like, okay. And then he played it with me for a little bit and then stopped playing it. And he just went back to playing like League and stuff.
So, okay, I guess we should, I don't want to waste too much time not getting to the topic. So this is, I guess, like a mini podcast is what originally, yeah. Fun fact, when the game first came out, Dylan and I thought we would do a weekly or every other week Avengers podcast with the amount of content they were planning. So this is, I guess, technically the first episode of that?
Yeah, maybe, if they start giving us things to talk about.
Yeah.
But
so let's talk about the
nightmares.
Nightmare faces melting off in a costume.
Oh, God.
How did that even get out of QA? Because there wasn't like this guy had it and this guy didn't. Everyone had melted face cap.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone.
Yeah, I didn't even... I was wearing that skin for a while and didn't even notice it because I would, like, look away at loading screens or, like, on the helicarrier.
Right.
It's terrifying. I think they fixed it now, but...
That was just so weird the way that worked out.
Very upsetting.
So, okay, first, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. We're now in November. Kate Bishop has finally been discussed and looked at. Her gameplay style looks fun, but she's finally been discussed. But we still have no real content. This is the thing that we're about to run, the Tachyon Rift, which was supposed to be in the last video, but I couldn't record it properly. This was the only new content we've had.
Yes. It's, I think we've gotten, like, some tiny rollouts of other things as well, but, like, nothing substantial. Especially nothing like the big first content drop that they said that they were going to do was the AIM Secret Lab. It was going to be like the first raid mission, sort of. And
right,
it just completely dropped the ball on that. And they said it's still coming, but I mean... Well, yeah, so yeah, AIM Secret... there is the fact that I guess Black Panther and Wakanda were supposed to be the first big patches. And then out of respect, they decided to delay those from what the rumors state. But then they were like, oh my gosh, our game is really broken. So they decided to fix things. So far, I'm pretty happy with how this is running. This is running a lot more optimized and smoother than it has in the past. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's... With each patch, the game, I feel like, has been running better and better. But, you know, it's... Since the... I've had worries... Where are you, by the way? This is hard to... Oh, you're up there. Okay. Since the, you know, the beta on the PS4 that we both played, I had concerns about the game running just because it's, you know, clearly optimized for next gen in terms of consoles, and
yeah,
in terms of the PC port, like it's just not optimized to like run well on modern hardware. But it's been running a lot better lately, especially if you like dial in your settings more. In
order to play this and it runs smooth for recording, I have to bring it down to medium settings, which isn't normal with my setup.
Yeah, and that's what, like, at least for OBS, for Shadowplay, I can record it no problem. I'm at like I think high settings. But like my computer should be able to run this game like all max, like no problems, and it just can't most of the time. It's very strange. Also,
what do you feel about the 96% of the player base fell off? Now, I love somebody left a comment on the last video we did for this, where they were like, 96% of the player base left day 2, and I'm like, well, that's hardcore false.
Yeah, I don't know about day 2.
From what I saw on the Steam charts, the 96% number seems to come out about towards the end of September, beginning of October, around the time frame that we were supposed to begin getting content. Like, it seems like they knew what their limit was with the current content, how far players would go with it, you know?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like, because early on, the game was, like, well-reviewed by people who played the story and got out, because the story is good. It's a fun story.
I like it overall. I do feel it's very trope-heavy and very much what you normally expect from an Avengers storyline.
Sure.
The Kamala angle was a nice spin on that.
Mm-hmm.
If Kamala wasn't there, I would have said the story's garbage. It's every Avengers plot we've ever seen.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Kamala made it worthwhile.
I think the biggest thing about this game specifically is the just the character performances were really good, and that like drew people in. But the people who didn't leave after the story and stuck around expecting, like, you know, new content to come out were like immediately disappointed, because like right away they were like, yeah, Kate Bishop is gonna come out in a couple weeks, and then a couple weeks passed.
Kate Bishop in like
nothing,
and that first raid before the game launched. They didn't give us a hardcore date.
It was the day early access started for people who bought like the deluxe version, who got that like 3 days early access. The War Table dropped that announced Kate Bishop and the AIM cloning lab or whatever.
And they even basically said that they had Black Panther stuff to announce, but they weren't going to.
Yeah.
Because they had that thing of, like, out of respect, which means that it existed. So that was all planned to be talked about right then and there.
Right. And I think that was definitely, like, I think they probably, because Future Imperfect, the Clint stuff, his operation, that seems like it's going to be as big, if not just a little smaller, than what the Wakanda stuff would have been. So I think they just, like, swapped that around, which I'm sure that like affected stuff and moved their timelines a little bit, but they kept like promising things and then having to go and double back on stuff, where I feel like, you know, they could have who are we to say like what's actually going on at Crystal Dynamics right now, but there's more clear communication probably would have been helpful.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they've generally just kind of come out and said, we know there's problems, we're fixing them, we're going to delay everything until we fix them.
Right.
But that also leads to the next thing. So the game has done so poorly post-launch at this point. Obviously, we still like it. I mean, we're playing them, we're enjoying them, we still hop on and check things out. I've been going into the marketplace, I want to support this game. But the general populace has fallen off. The game has made headlines with the amount of players it's lost.
Right.
Which is never a good sign for a video game that you want to see succeed. One thing that people have started talking about was that this was going to turn into the next Anthem. It's going to bomb. It's going to do terrible.
Right.
It's going to get torn down. No one's going to play it. It's over. And of course, you got your naysayers who want to say things like that. They want to be like, yes, the game is over. But the big topic I want to talk about today is an IGN article came out in which they talked about somebody at Square Enix. I think it was either the CEO or somebody who had a say in what was going on with the earnings calls. And they straight up said that the game only sold $60 million worth of copies, and they needed $100 million to even break even on this game. Admitting that marketing was one of the biggest problems because they did such a heavy-handed push last second due to COVID. Like,
Right.
they didn't get to do their full plan, so they paid big top dollar to get the marketing out there. They also admitted that this game came out because if it didn't come out, Square Enix would make no money off new titles for that quarter 3 or whatever quarter this came out. I think it was quarter 3. Because of COVID, once again, they didn't have a title. You got to think titles like Final Fantasy XIV and other things under Square Enix's table didn't have patches, didn't have content, didn't have anything. So they basically have admitted this game came out as a filler for their quarter 3 earnings, and then that it was a terrible idea. But they've also said that they intend on continuing with the content in hopes that it will bring back the player base, and that they'll be able to bridge those gaps.
Right.
What do you think about the official statement that this is not going to be Anthem, at least not now?
I think it's, to be expected. Like, I mean, honestly, I feel like with a lot of their, shareholders or whatever, devs, whoever's saying, like, this isn't going to be Anthem, this isn't going to die like that game did, I think they're banking on the marvel of it all for a lot of it. Just because, in, like, a year or two, when the game runs well, when it's fully out for next-gen consoles, when they have a lot of content, and they've recovered from launch, and whatever setbacks happen, the bugs, the COVID, the Wakanda being pushed, stuff like that. Once they've recovered from all that, I think people will come back on the basis of it being like, oh, I can play Captain America and Iron Man and all these guys, cool. Where, like, Anthem didn't really have that. Like, it didn't have a recognizable thing where even if, they fixed the game a year or two later, people might not come back because they don't care about it anymore. It's out of their eyes. But
right,
like that, I feel like that's a similar thing happened to No Man's Sky. It's like No Man's Sky was on the radar because of its marketing, and when that marketing turned out to be a sham, people were upset and they just completely wrote it off. And even though the game is, like, fixed now and better,
the game's incredible. As a matter of fact, you and I should play it on PS5.
Sure. I don't have it, but that sounds... I've actually never played it. But
we'll have the follow-up discussion then.
Sure. But yeah, I think, like, that was a game where people didn't go back to give it a second chance because there was nothing attaching them to it aside from the pie in the sky claims that Sean Murray and all of them made about the game coming out. So it left a poor taste in their mouth. Whereas with a game like this, they didn't really make a lot of huge claims. In fact, that was like they didn't really make any claims, which was
part of the problem. They were so vague on what it was gonna be. Everyone's like, we don't know
what the hell is this game. Like, nobody knew. And then when it was like, oh, okay, it's just like Destiny, looter shooter style stuff, people started to take a liking to it.
I mean, I just want to say, for the record, I actually got one of the PAXs got to go in and talk to the developers, play A-Day, and they still had like zero real answers outside of like, you're gonna get gear.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does that mean? What is it?
Yeah, but I mean, that could work in their favor in the long run, because I feel like people who bought this game, with, if they were just wanting like a single player Avengers story and that's the part of the marketing that latched onto them, they're probably pretty happy. They bought it. Maybe it was a little short and they might be miffed because of that, but they bought it. They got a single player story that they probably enjoyed, and then they got out, and that's all they wanted for it, and they'll come back when new story drops.
I mean, that was my brother's original plan. He has zero interest in games like Destiny and Anthem and any of those games. But he was on board with coming back to play the new story drops. Like, I'll see what's going on with Kate. But he couldn't even finish the main game because of bugs.
Yeah, that's... A lot of people were that way. Luckily, that didn't affect me, but a lot of people had, like, game-breaking save bugs that just wouldn't let them progress in the story.
Yeah, one of my teammates for our like, we're going to raid Avengers, we're going to meet up once a week and play Avengers guys. On the mission where Thor is introduced into the game, the objective wouldn't spawn. He had to restart the entire game.
Yikes. That sucks. Yeah, I think a lot of people will, the main people who are upset are the people kind of like you and I who, have played a lot of MMOs and games like these where... we kind of want, I'm getting a chest, get out of there. No.
Okay. It's only you and me. It's really easy for me to go, okay. I'm watching the timer, though. Are you forgetting we're doing Attack on Rift content?
Yeah, there's still things in here.
There, I got
We're fine, yeah.
That chest too.
I lost my point. I wanted the gear so bad. Oh yeah, people like you and I who want the gear so bad and want to play for like looter shooter stuff. Those are the people who are more upset.
That just emphasized your point.
Yeah, I can tie it back. I've done this before. Those are the people who are upset, and I feel like, yeah, rightfully upset, right? Because there was a promise of like content soon after launch and a roadmap and stuff. And honestly, for the first month or so, first couple weeks, I thought people were overreacting a bit, because it's like, you know, most people, I was looking at achievements on Steam, like most people haven't even finished the campaign. Most people are not at level cap. And like people,
I mean, to follow up with that point, I actually agree with you 100%, because people would come in and complain, oh, it's so repetitious, oh, we're fighting the same bosses. I'm like, yeah, but they're literally coming out with more in a month, guys.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, Utah looks kind of repetitive, and Pacific Greenland, or whatever it's called, Northwest Pacific, all looks repetitive. I agree, but in a month we're getting more.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I had that same complaint with Beyond Light Dropped, that like, oh my god, it's very repetitious, we don't have a lot to do, and within 2 weeks we got new content. And it's like, oh, wait, there's a ton to do now. Okay, cool. You know, and that was what they were offering. They were offering new zones, new villains, new things for free. It was all going to be a part of the game was going to be supported by its marketplace. So a lot of naysayers were arguing the repetitious nature and the repetitious enemies and the very few enemy types, but that would have fixed itself by November. Right.
And I think that's a lot, like people expected like new content day one, and I'm like, what? like relax. There's so much going on with other games right now, and there's still a ton to do in this game, like in that time period. I think now that it's been like a couple months, and with the delays that have happened, and with kind of the very slow rollout of stuff, that's been it's gotten to the point where it's a bit like, all right, we got to keep it up. If there's like literally like 10 people online playing this game, something's a problem. Like something needs to bring people back in.
When the game came out and we originally were playing it, since they didn't have a release date for the raid, me and my crew only hopped on twice a week. We decided we were going to play it very casually, not burn ourselves out, and enjoy ourselves. Casually playing twice a week for 3 hours at a time. We did some on stream, we did some off stream, but it was always twice a week. We would work on our characters. I got to where I am now in about a month and a half.
Right, yeah.
Now, the plan was, if they announced the raid with a date, we would go in and finish blitzing. But why blitz if we didn't even know when that content was coming out? That was our argument for it, and we would just go back to playing Destiny and things, you know? Just get on and have fun with it instead of hating this game. So I think that's part of the problem. The repetitious nature and the people complaining about the content, it gets worse and worse when even the casual people are now catching up.
Right.
And we have nothing left to do, because I played this game casually and I capped out. Like,
yeah, that was like,
everyone was like, aren't you going ham? Why don't you have a capped character? I'm like, well, they haven't told us when anything's coming out. Trust me, if I want to cap out in a hurry, I'll get it done in a day. Like, I know how to do that.
Yeah, and that was like something for me. Is for a while I was playing this game as, and I think this is where this game and games like these kind of work best, is just as like something to do while you're doing something else, like listening to a podcast or something. And that was this game for me for a while. Was I was just listening to podcasts or listening to music or something, and just like, you know, repetitiously grinding out gear and you know, item levels and stuff like that. And I was fine with that for a while, but there came a point where I was like, there's nothing on the horizon. Like, why am I even doing this?
Well, yeah, and once I got capped out and we still didn't know what was going on, and I think about that time they officially announced there would be a delay. They're not even going to try to... that's when I finally stopped playing. I get on to check the marketplace and stuff, and just, that's about it.
Yeah.
You know? Because I do want to support this game. I do want it to do well. I said it at the beginning. Some people just wanted... Oh, God, out. Some people just wanted a straightforward Avengers storyline. I love this type of game. So this is exactly what I wanted. You know what I mean?
Not doing so
I love the kind of game that I pop on and grind, and then while I'm listening to a podcast, watching my favorite show or whatever.
Yeah.
And then my buddies get on and we team up to go for the big objective. I play those kinds of games all day. That's why it takes me so long to get through like really hardcore single player games. Assassin's Creed Valhalla that I talked about for almost a year. Oh god, I just rocketed that guy into orbit. I talked about that for like a year. I'm like 17 hours in, which isn't, a small amount, but you would assume I'd be much farther.
Yeah.
But I'm so busy grinding in Destiny and World of Warcraft right now and all these other games. I wanted Avengers to be in that rotation.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And that was like, that was a lot of it for me too, was, like I wanted this to be my new game. Like I was fully ready to go into it. And I was excited about it for a couple weeks. And then it just slowly, like, my excitement died away just because there wasn't much for me to do. Like, I got these characters up to, like, high level 130 plus. And now, like, what do I do with that? Just do the same missions over and over again? That's boring. Give me something new.
Exactly. I mean, like I said at the beginning of this, you and I were going to do a weekly podcast where we were going to discuss new stuff, and we didn't feel any rush to get it launched and going because we had a lot going on right when this game dropped.
Right.
And by the time that you and I were both like, all right, so we got some free time, we can finally start working on this, we had nothing to talk about. Like, what were we going to talk about?
Right, exactly. It would have just been us talking about the same stuff every week. Just complaining and, saying like, well, I got Thor like 2 more levels this week.
Yeah. So let's close out this I guess, first episode of a potential podcast. If people want to hear us talk about this, probably every other week when they make announcements of the war tables.
Mm-hmm.
But let's close out this. How do you feel? Do you feel that there's hope for this? Do you feel that this game's going to get its Taken King? It's big secondary thing that's going to make everyone actually want to play it nonstop, and it's not going to be just nothing.
As you say that, I'm on my war table, which is completely glitched out. Maybe I think like I've heard a lot of people talk about like the Square Enix connection, like with Final Fantasy 14 getting A Realm Reborn. I don't think it's gonna have something as drastic as that, but
or an Anthem style, take the game down, rework the whole game.
Yeah, like I don't think it's gonna get a relaunch, like a big like here it is, here's like Marvel's Avengers 2.0. I don't think it's gonna get something like that. I think it is gonna be kind of a slow burn. I think hopefully, because if we look at the leaked list of characters that came out like just before launch, and we compare that to...
Which made me excited, by the way.
Yeah, it was very exciting because especially if you looked at that, like it was like 13 or so characters, and pairing that along with the promise that we were going to get content like once a month, and then they come out and say, hey, each character is going to come with new villains and like new missions and new environments. Then you're suddenly like, oh, every single month we're going to get a new character, new villains, new environments, new mission types. And I'm hoping that once Kate comes out, they can stick to that. They can get back onto that roadmap where every month after Kate Bishop, after December 8th when she drops, we're gonna get that intended like rate of content drops. And I think slowly over time people will start coming back to the game if they stick to that. And hopefully they do. Hopefully they keep it fresh, and hopefully they're able to, recoup the costs of development with exciting marketplace stuff and just having people come back to the game. I mean, the game's dirt cheap at this point, the entry fee. So,
well, at the moment of us recording this, and I believe the video, we're aiming to get it out as soon as possible, so it might even still be going. There is a Black Friday sale on Avengers, which at first you'd be like, oh my god, the game did so bad, it's already getting a Black Friday sale. They also put Final Fantasy Remake on that, so
right.
Which is like, I think one of their highest selling games of Q2 when that one came out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a different discussion, but like if you're not, as long as you're not Nintendo, your game is gonna go like deep sale like a month later regardless. That's just how it happens these days.
That might be a fun discussion, maybe. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below, guys, if you want to see Dylan and I talking about the gaming industry or just having an Avengers talk every other week. This is something we could very easily do on a weekly basis. Check out the newest game. I'm trying a similar thing with our Saturday morning streams, or me and Dan play Apex, and we're having a similar thing. Let me know what you think of the idea of a pre-recorded one like what me and Dylan are doing here. And what do you think about Avengers? Are you still playing it? Do you still hop on? Do you still talk about it? Because, I mean, as much as we're kind of joking around about the situation of it is, I haven't gotten on very much, but I do get on here and there. Like, oh, you want to play a couple matches in Avengers? We just hop on and do it, me and my friends. And it's just more to BS and talk while we're playing something we all like. But you know what I'm saying? So let me know in the comments down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it's a different style, completely different thing from anything we've done recently. I know we've done styles like this way in the past, but it's more just, we didn't know what else to do with Avengers. And I like Avengers. We're already working on a Fortnite video with the Marvel stuff, and we're already working on some Destiny stuff, and we're already working on some Final Fantasy stuff. And I wanted Avengers to be a part of that mix, and I couldn't think of anything. So Dylan and I talked about it. We thought this was a great idea to try this, just to talk about our overall thoughts and opinions at this point. But I want to know what you guys think down below. Don't forget, you can check out Dylan on his channel,
Orum's Corner.
I didn't want to mess it up again.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time right here that we talk about Avengers, because even if this isn't a regular thing, we'll be here when they finally drop content.
Yeah, true.